You might be wondering why I'm wearing this, and I just got this recently, and it's for protection. Obviously, the most important thing you have is oxygen, but why I think this is very important is it relates to the uranium sector. There has actually been a massive wildfire going throughout North America. So a lot of the uranium stocks are affected by that. I'm going to go over exactly why. And this is a very bullish thing in the future. I'm going to go over exactly where I think the uranium sector is headed and cover a bunch of this stuff with what our climate's doing and where I think it's all going to go. But first, please hit that like and subscribe button below. Now, first thing is I have not been on YouTube too much, but I'm going to be coming back to YouTube. This week's been crazy, this coming week as well. Lucy and I's anniversary, her 9-year kidney transplant anniversary is this week. We've got my birthday, my mom's birthday. We had a trip planned. Also my buddy Lewis Morgan, it's his birthday, and we've been trying to get the podcast going. We did a stock podcast, if you haven't seen it, on the Lewis Morgan podcast, and we're gonna get that going again. But things are, it's a summertime, so things have been a little hectic, but I'm really going to be pushing to get out a lot of content here on YouTube. I really enjoy this. It's a lot of fun. And Lewis and I both enjoy doing the podcast, but we're going to talk about uranium. So uranium, it's been affected a lot this week. I track all the uranium stocks now. There's about 74 I have here. And as you can see, they're still up big from last year when I initially got in. You know, there's 3 or 4, or there's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 now that are actually over 1,000%. Now, the red here is this last Friday's loss. A lot of these are down, and it's because Cameco, the biggest uranium producer, one of the biggest, second biggest to Kazakhstan, Kazatomprom, and they had a huge wildfire. Now, this wildfire is like raging throughout Canada, and it's due to the record heat that we've had, these record temperatures. And it's sparked like lightning, and it's created, you know, all this dry areas is now lit up, and it's spreading across, you know, Canada. So this is actually a very crazy thing. As you saw in this video, this is actually Cameco, their Cigar Lake mine. So they actually evacuated. Thankfully, nobody was hurt. And, you know, it really affected the stock. Initially, it halted and then it went back up. As the uranium stocks usually do, they recover pretty fast. Speaking of fire, look at that. So this is the Gulf of Mexico, and this was from a pipeline rupture. And this is actually oil on the pipeline igniting, and it's actually coming up. It's actually on the water and coming up and out. When I was in the Coast Guard, I was on a ship that actually we could go out there and suck up the oil on top of the water. So they will be able to clean this up, but it just shows that we're very fragile. Our economy, our world, you know, what we rely on. And obviously with uranium, look at the uranium mines, the same thing. It's very fragile. One other really bullish thing that happened this week was Kazatomprom, the world's biggest producer. They're actually cutting their 2023 production down 20% reduction. So, you know, these utility companies, they see this, they're starting to say, okay, this is a little too close to make this bet, because a lot of these utility companies in America are needing to fulfill new contracts. So this is just one other bullish thing. Pretty much every single day, there's always something bullish in the uranium market happening. And no matter what, these uranium stocks, you know, the whole uranium market, I think Dogecoin is actually higher value than the entire uranium market put together, all 74 of those stocks. And that's crazy. So I think if we look at this right here, it's been a massive type of gains for some of these stocks in the last, you know, year and a half. That's initially when I got in. But these stocks, they have so much bigger upside. And, you know, I think that there's a few here that are just tremendously undervalued still. UBX Corp, that's the one. Also Denison Mines, they're the two companies that went in on the deal. I'll talk about that in a second. But one thing that I do foresee is if we do have somewhat of a correction at the end of this month, the mortgage forbearance, you know, people are going to start to get evicted from their homes. I think it was like 10 million Americans were behind on their rent. So this could mean it affects 20, 30 million plus people. Who knows? Maybe more than that. I know people that have 4 families in one house. So are they even paying their rent? Who knows? This could be really wreak havoc on the whole economy when this stuff starts to happen. It's a big domino effect. And I'll show you an example of a house. This housing market just going crazy. And I want to show you an example of that in a minute. But this deal with UEX and Denison, I really do like it. I think it's actually better for UEX. I've given it some thought. I think it's better to go in on this with a team. It's less dilution in the long run for shareholders. And you want to be with the biggest companies like Cameco, which they have a percentage in. Now UEX does, and Denison as well. So I think it's really good. It's the uranium market. These things are going to happen. There's going to be buyouts. I think it's great for where these two stocks are at. I still like UEX better. I think it's, the market cap's way smaller. You can get more of the company, and still a lot of upside for both companies. But people wanted me to touch on that. The other thing, I was going to talk about this housing market. I've just saved some random houses. So I'm in Oregon. And I recently, last year, actually the beginning of this year, was moved from Los Angeles. And I'm still back and forth. I still make movies. I'm a director. But this house that I have right here saved, it's pretty crazy. So they actually listed it for about $800,000. It's a trailer house. It's a mobile home. And I actually saw this house years ago, actually. I was actually stationed there in Astoria, Oregon, in the Coast Guard. And this house, I think back in 2012, it's worth like maybe $100 grand. As you can see the tax history here, 2012, $97,000. Now they're saying $800,000. Come on, you got to be kidding me. Look at this jump. August, it said the home was worth $242,000. Boom. Now it's listed for $800,000. This is what people are expecting, and I've seen these type of houses sell. Okay. These houses sell for this. When I was stationed there, like I said, 2007 or so, $70,000. This house is probably close to being, new, and you have these acres. You could get a house for that. I think we're going to see these prices again right here. 2008. This is not worth $800,000 to me. And this just screams that we're in a crazy bubble. Will this affect the stock market? Maybe, maybe not. But I do see it affecting the overall economy. I don't think people, if people somehow get a mortgage for this, if they're still working and they get a mortgage for $800,000, everyone knows this house is not worth $800,000. They're going to be upside down on this house like crazy. If we go back to prices like this, I mean, come on, eight times what the house is worth you paid, that dwarfs the previous housing bubble. And more people are affected by this now because of what happened. So I just think that it's a crazy time we live in. And if you can get in and get out of those deals, I mean, I'm not saying, I think one of the main reasons why it's affecting people is because most of the houses that are being sold to big funds. I'm talking billions and billions of dollars, and they pay sometimes, hundreds of thousands, sometimes upwards, depending on how much the house is, $1 million over market value, what the house was listed for. And sometimes these houses are going in a few days. So we live in crazy times. The market, I love the stock market. I don't peddle in, housing and that type of thing. And Lewis and I talked about this. Neither does he. He's got a few houses, but he's not looking to do that. Like it's too much of a headache. That's why I love stocks. You can get in, you can get rich, and you can get out of them. And with some of these stocks, you put a good amount of money in them, and you can be up a lot when uranium starts to run. And Lewis is one of them. One of my buddies, Lewis Morgan. He's got, he's getting close to like $20 million in uranium stocks. So I'm telling him, man, I'm like, man, you're going to be a billionaire off this. If you can get this up to, 100 million and then 10x's, it's $1 billion there profit. So, it's pretty insane. I've only got, not even about a tenth of that in uranium, and I'm looking to add more, but I'm very cautious, and that's how I've been trading since 2007. Is I've stayed sometimes on the sidelines when I wanted to get in. I wanted to get in uranium for years and years, but I just never saw a deficit like we have coming. I never really thought that it could run high like it did in 2007 until the last really year. And I think it's going to actually dwarf that. I think it's going to go over to $200 a pound for uranium. And just, from these type of things happening, it just shows that we are very, very, very fragile, like I said before. And our energy market, we really rely on nuclear power here in America. 94 reactors. It's the baseload power. It's really what's holding, with this record heat waves, people were dying. Without these nuclear power plants, most of the grids would have, burnt up, caused more fires. People wouldn't have had air conditioners, and you really don't think about these things always. But stuff like this, having some type of backup power source, these things are important. They're important to me. I have a backup generator that can run my whole house, and I prepare for this type of stuff. But also, I have cash, and some people are like, well, you're sitting on the sidelines with a bunch of cash. But the thing is, like, just this year, just from investing in uranium with the other 50%, I pretty much made back all the inflation, how much inflation's went up just in the last, few months, which has been crazy. I've made that back already just from gains from a few stocks. So, I'm a full-time trader. I keep people updated. I love doing this on YouTube, but I am a full-time trader. I'm not trying to sell anything. The only thing that I offer is, access to my Discord. And that is where you can get access to this uranium sheet to track everything. It's very important because when the uranium price does start to run, there's going to be hundreds and hundreds of uranium companies. And you might be like, how's that going to happen? Well, these companies that are all gold miners, which 99% of them are never going to find gold, they're going to switch their name to something uranium. They're going to say that they have uranium in their mines, which, they're going to be looking for. So it's going to really, to all the new investors, they're not going to know where to turn. That's why I've, compiled this list, and I've got all of this stuff, that updates every day, and I update my info with it, and you can have access to that. But like I said, this week I'm going to be gone. All these things, anniversary, Lucy's kidney anniversary, my birthday, my mom's birthday, Lewis's birthday, and we've got a vacation planned. Haven't went on vacation in like 2 years, so we're gonna stay safe. Hope you stay safe out there. Look into this type of stuff. Look into having some water, having some food, in case these things happen. You never know. I mean, we had crazy ice storms in Texas, and power went out. In the comments below, did you like this video? Like I said, I'm looking to do a lot more videos. And what do you think about uranium? You think we're going to see $200 uranium like I said? Please hit that like and subscribe button below, and more videos coming soon.